Don't go there. I don't know.
Good evening and welcome to the San Bruno City Council and San Bruno Redevelopment Agency meeting, February 22nd, 2011. I'd like to thank the San Bruno Garden Club for the floral arrangement. They're always nice enough to provide. And roll call, please.
Council Agency Member O'Connell.
Here.
Council Agency Member Medina.
Here.
Council Agency Member Ibarra.
Here.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chair Salazar.
Here.
Mayor, Chair Ruane.
Here. Mr. O'Leary, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcements. I just wanted to say, you see the city manager is not with us tonight, and the Clara Fabry, Public Works, and also our fire chief. They are, as I speak, in Washington, D.C., preparing for a briefing tomorrow at the NTSB, because we will be attending, I think there's 7 of us, myself and Councilmember Medina and members of staff attending this en banc hearing, they call it, that's going to take place next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in Washington. It is sort of unprecedented, and unfortunately the San Bruno explosion prompted this. This is a huge national hearing that hopefully will lead to some new regulations and controls so that this never happens again in any other city in this country. So I just want to let you know she's in Washington today. She'll be back Thursday, flying out again Sunday, so the next week and a half will be very busy for all of us. Presentations, no presentations this evening. Review of the agenda. Anybody have any comments on the agenda? Approval of the minutes. Seeing no changes, corrections, omissions, minutes will stand approved as submitted. Consent calendar. All items are considered routine or implemented earlier council action and may be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion unless requested by a council member, citizen, or staff. Any action on the consent calendar?
One motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Public hearings. No public hearings this evening. Item number 9, public comment on items that are not on the agenda. It is the council's policy to refer matters raised in this forum to staff for investigation and/or action where appropriate. The Brown Act prohibits the council from discussing or acting upon any matter not agendized pursuant to state law. Anyone wish to speak to the council on items not on this agenda? Okay. Item 10, conduct of business. Item A, receive an oral report and approve a letter to the Caltrain Board of Directors opposing the proposed suspension of service to closure of the San Bruno Caltrain station. Aaron?
Thank you and good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. My name is Aaron Ackman. I'm the Community Development Director. And before you tonight, we have placed a draft letter to Caltrain, as well as the proposal or the PowerPoint presentation that Caltrain's made during several public hearings related to their current proposal. And just to give a little bit of background for those who may not have what Caltrain is proposing, Caltrain is now, like many public agencies, faced with a large budget shortfall. In their case, it's about $30 million. And it's primarily because of an unstable revenue base. They do not have a dedicated revenue source like many of the transit agencies within the Bay Area. They've tried many short-term solutions like wage freezes, furloughs, and fare hikes. However, this time they are going for a bigger solution than what they proposed before. And essentially what they're proposing is eliminating, going down from 86 trains to 48 daily trains. And what this result in is the closure of up to 7 stations within the Bay Area, within the peninsula. And one of those stations could be the San Bruno. We're listed as one of 10 possible closures. Before going into how dramatic effect this could have on San Bruno, I think it's important to take a step back and look at the partnership that we've had with Caltrain over the past 10 years. If there's one thing that I've worked on, or I know that we've been working on as a city for the entire time I've been here, which has been about 10 years, is this partnership with Caltrain. As you know, the grade separation process involved dozens of community meetings, hundreds of hours of resident time, hundreds of hours of staff time and hundreds of thousands of dollars of staff time, as well as project management dedicated to this partnership with Caltrain to facilitate the grade separation to happen. And it started to happen. As you know, we broke ground on this project just a couple months ago after this decade-long partnership, and now we get the news that we're on this short list of stations that could be closed within San Mateo County. In addition to this, every single land use policy that the city of San Bruno has adopted over these 10 years in anticipation of this public partnership with Caltrain has been gone towards increasing ridership for Caltrain. As you know, in 2009, we adopted our general plan, which created a new transit-oriented development area directly surrounding the train station, so we could add residents, so we could add workers within this area that could take Caltrain. We then took the next step, investing hundreds of thousands of more dollars into our transit corridor plan. And as you know, the draft plan is done now. It includes raising residential densities and increasing the amount of land uses that can surround this train station to directly impact the number of riders that will ride on Caltrain trains. And this, one thing that I think we need to remind Caltrain is the land use that's allowed to be the tallest, is allowed to be the most dense in this area, is a 7-story office building directly above the old San Bruno lumber site, which is owned by Caltrain. So obviously, not only would this have a positive effect from a real estate side for Caltrain, it would add up to 1,200 office workers directly on top of a train station that could take that train on a daily basis. So a train station closure within San Bruno would obviously be a short-sighted decision. It would be one that would not benefit Caltrain in the long run and would not benefit San Bruno residents in the long run. So with that in mind, Caltrain is hosting a public hearing on March 3rd. I'm going to attend this meeting, and I know a couple of the council members are too, but I would really encourage San Bruno citizens to go out and come to this meeting or write letters to Caltrain voicing their opposition to the potential closure of the San Bruno Caltrain station. So I could take any questions at this time.
Any questions of Aaron?
Through the chair.
Irene?
Aaron, do you know what time the meeting is and where it's taking place?
Yes, it's at 10 a.m., 1250 San Carlos Avenue in San Carlos at the SanTrans headquarters there.
Okay.
All I gotta say is you've touched on the letter, the draft letter, signed by Mayor Ruane, touched on every point. Like you, Mayor Ruane and I and a couple of other colleagues have been there for the whole 10 years. And we were very proud a couple of months ago when we broke ground. And now to hear this, I can understand their point, but we've got a lot invested, and we are what they want. We are what they need in San Bruno. And so I think it's been articulated very well in the letter, and we'll be there March 3rd and continue to fight, and we'll keep that station open.
Mr. Rico?
Robert Rico, excuse me, 7th Avenue. Can I suggest that this last slide on the back, the city consider taking the first line off and adding the actual time and the street address and running it on San Bruno cable so that you can get the information out more to the public? I will be there on the 3rd and hopefully say something too. So
Thank you very much. Good suggestion. We'll take care of that. Yeah, this is, been working with Ken on this and other councils prior to this one for close to 10 years. And it's unconscionable in my mind that they're even considering San Bruno, when in fact there's so many pluses in this whole situation. So it's a strongly worded letter. We might make it a little bit stronger maybe, but we'll get it down to them, and I'm sure Mr. Ibarra and Irene O'Connell will be there to represent us along with Aaron and other staff and be pretty forceful in this. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion to approve the letter? Or
Receive it all
I think
over.
you have pretty good consensus. Okay, thank you. Item 10B, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Corby Gould Pools Incorporated in the amount of $97,316 for the City Park Swimming Pool Resurfacing Project. We had this before us just a little while ago.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm Danielle Brewer, Recreation Services Manager. On January 11th, the council authorized staff to go to bid for the swimming pool resurfacing project to replace all the existing fiberglass and tiles and appropriated up to $120,000 of equipment reserve funds. Staff published a notice inviting bids and mailed bid packets to companies that were recommended by other agencies within the Bay Area. We received 3 bids by the bid deadline of February 10th, all of whom had the minimum qualifications. Bids were received from 3 companies. The low bid was received from Corby Gold Pools at $97,316. Staff contacted each of the references and asked questions regarding the timeliness of their project, if the company stayed within budget and within the bid price, how long ago the project was, and how the condition of the pool is now. Staff received positive feedback regarding Corby Gold Pools. From the references, Corby Gold also comes highly recommended by Paul Dow of Dow Pools, which is the company that's been maintaining our pool for approximately 5 years. The city has $29,644 of funds remaining from the State Proposition 40 2002 Bond Act to be used for this project. The remaining $67,672 balance will be funded through the equipment reserve. No money will be taken from the general fund for the project. Of the $120,000 appropriated, approximately $22,000 will go back into the equipment reserve account. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Good. Any questions of staff?
Just, thank you. Do you have a timeline? When is this going to be accomplished?
We are going to meet with the contractor soon to find out a start date. We said 40 days is the project timeline. They said that they can get it done within that time. So as soon as we can get it started, they can get all their supplies, we'll be getting it started.
Great. Okay.
But before the summer, though, we'll be able to get into our lifeguard training classes and all of our staff training as well.
Okay.
Good. Any other questions? Action?
Through the chair,
Oh, go ahead.
Mike.
I'll introduce the resolution.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Salazar.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. Item number 10C, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase agreement for a 2011 GO4 parking enforcement vehicle from Municipal Maintenance Equipment in the amount of $31,376, and a purchase agreement and approve an additional appropriation of funds for 4 2011 Ford marked police cars from San Francisco Ford Lincoln Mercury in the amount of $91,609. Staff, please.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of City Council. I'm Martin Cardone, Water Services Manager, but tonight I'm here on behalf of the Central Garage. I'm here tonight to recommend the purchase of 1 parking enforcement vehicle from Municipal Maintenance Equipment and 4 2011 Ford Crown Victoria marked police vehicles purchased from San Francisco Ford and Lincoln Mercury. The Police Department's 2010-11 budget includes the replacement of 2 marked patrol vehicles and the replacement of a parking enforcement vehicle. The Police Department has historically used a staggered schedule for both parking and reduced expenditures. The department's most recently delayed purchase the parking enforcement vehicle in 2009 and 10, when both vehicles were taken out of service, and only 1 replacement was purchased. The staff now recommends proceeding with the replacement of the second vehicle. The patrol vehicles scheduled for replacement range from 2003 to 2005 model years. These vehicles experience an average of stop-and-go mileage of over 1,300 miles per month. Patrol vehicles are subject to harsh driving conditions, including emergency response to calls and pursuit driving. They're often placed in service 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. These vehicles require an aggressive replacement schedule and are typically removed from service when they attain 80 to 90,000 mile range. The mileage range goal is consistent with schedules used by other law enforcement agencies. The 2010-11 budget includes funds for the replacement of 2 of the patrol vehicles. However, with Ford's recent announcement that it will end production of the Crown Victoria police cars used by the department for many years, staff recommends the purchase of 2 additional cars to allow time for the city to prepare for the conversion to the next generation of police vehicles. There are several advantages to purchasing 2 additional vehicles. In projecting the mileage, we believe we'll have to ask for at least 2 additional vehicles next fiscal year. Purchasing the 2 cars now allows us to continue to transfer emergency equipment, such as light bars, computer mounts, rear seat screens, gun mounts, etc., from the old cars and have it fit the new vehicles. They're the same models. Staff also inquired to see if other manufacturers of police vehicles or Ford's replacement would be advantageous. We are not aware of any fuel efficiency or green capabilities coming forward next year. There is no significant fuel economy difference, and the Crown Victoria is a flex fuel capable. The municipal code allows for the city to join the South San Francisco bid, which is less than the state bid. The department's normal request for 2 marked vehicles in the proposed 2011-2012 budget will be eliminated, accelerating the vehicle purchase at this time meets the department's vehicle requirements through June of 2012. The acquisition of the 2 additional vehicles requires the City Council to appropriate an additional $36,700 from the general fund's undesignated fund balance.
Okay,
I'll
any
be happy to
questions
answer
of staff?
questions.
Through the chair.
Michael?
I noticed in the report it said that the parking enforcement vehicle is a sole source.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what is different about this particular vehicle that would make it a sole source.
The only manufacturer is out of Canada, and municipal maintenance is the sole provider in this area. There's a proprietary territory involved with that, and it's what we've used in the past years.
Okay. And so there's no other models that would be comparable?
No, unfortunately,
That's it?
no.
Okay. And I noticed it's also more expensive than the patrol cars.
Yeah, no, it's a sole source. Yeah.
And we're talking one of those little meter-made
Little three-wheelers, yeah.
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 And I was thinking, can't we just get another patrol car and use it for parking enforcement?
They're using a pickup truck right now, and it's just, they'd have to get out on the driver's side, which would be in traffic, walk around the vehicle, and then mark the tires and do the tickets. And if the three-wheeler now, the Gopher, if that's out of service, then you'd have to use another pickup truck to do not only the street sweeping, but also the downtown parking enforcement.
What about a two-wheeler?
But we are getting a armrest and cup holder with this one, which we didn't get. So we got a little extra out of
That's
this
the
one.
10,000.
Is there anything in the cup holder?
No, but it holds the chalk. It holds the chalk very well for it.
It's a deluxe model. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Action?
I'll introduce the resolution for adoption.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Salazar.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. And I think we'd all like a ride.
Through
Thanks.
the chair, do we
I'm sure
have,
that could be arranged.
do we have
One at
any
a
idea
time,
what
thank
the replacement car is going to be after the Crown Victorias? What are they proposing after Crown Victoria?
I know Chevrolet's coming out with a specially designed vehicle called the PPV, the Police Pursuit Vehicle, but at this time, a dollar amount and delivery hasn't been announced.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item 10D, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a cooperative agreement number 4-2344 with Caltrans for the street medians and Grand Boulevard improvements project.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. My name is Will Anderson. I'm a staff engineer in the Public Services Department, and I'm here to present to you the cooperative agreement between the State of California Department of Transportation, also known as Caltrans, and the City of San Bruno. This is for the street medians and Grand Boulevard improvements project. This is actually phase 2 of the project. So phase 1 has been completed, and it re-landscaped 5 of the 16 medians along El Camino. Phase 2 of this project will re-landscape the remainder of the 11 medians along El Camino. So we'll have a full, fully landscaped median frontage throughout San Bruno. This agreement is required so that the state funds in the amount of $779,000 can be transferred to the city to pay for the construction costs, and the city will have to provide a match from local funds in the amount, currently in the amount of $101,000, which is the minimum required, and that money is slated to come from the redevelopment funds. So depending on how the state approaches the redevelopment agencies throughout, staff may have to find additional local sources for the fundings to keep this project alive and to keep secure that $779,000 worth of funding we have successfully obtained. For project schedule, we are anticipating Caltrans approval of this project next month. So our plan is to put the project out to bid in spring of this year, construct during the summer, and with the goal of completing construction before the fall of this year. So that's my presentation. I'm open to questions.
Any questions of staff?
Through the chair.
Rico?
Real quick, I know you brought up the 101,000 of redevelopment and the concern with the governor and the state. If we enter into this as it becomes a contractual obligation, would that not secure those redevelopment funds of the 101 to go toward that, irrelevant to what happens in Sacramento?
As much as you try to get rid of me, I'm Jim O'Leary. I'm the Administrative Services
No,
Director.
we enjoy having you back.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. We'll certainly get into the answer to your question in more detail on the redevelopment item further here under conduct of business, but just very, very briefly, this agreement does not really obligate the city to pay these funds or to use redevelopment. What the contract really agrees to is Caltrans to reimburse the city for the work that the city is doing. If you'll notice, among the projects that are listed under the reimbursement agreement later in the agenda, the street median project is one of those that we are attempting to secure. But the point that I'll make in more detail later is we are taking this action as virtually every other city and redevelopment agency in California is taking, with the hope of protecting these funds. Clearly, the State Department of Finance is going to write legislation and is going to make every effort to void these types of contracts. But this is our best step in order to protect it. And I think what the department was really trying to indicate is, or just point out to the council, that in fact this is the example of the type of project that if in fact the state grabs redevelopment money from us, will put us in the hole and would jeopardize this particular project.
Thank you.
Through the chair, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to expound on that. The fact that the governor wants to get rid of redevelopment means that we wouldn't even be able to consider a project like this. And in people at home and I know redevelopment is very difficult, it's very complicated. The fact of the matter is that the money's not coming out of the general fund. That we can still, through very difficult times, financial times, we can still make improvements to our community. And these median strips have been something that we've been doing during these difficult times. And through grants and through redevelopment, we've been able to spruce up our medians, over the last few years. Without that, it'd be down at the bottom of the list out of a general fund expenditure for $101,000. So it's just another example, like you say, that how redevelopment is valuable to this community. And there's a longer list of things that we'll get into, as time goes on. But I think this is a good example.
Good. Any other questions or comments? Any action?
I'll introduce the resolution.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Salazar.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. Item number 10E, adopt a resolution authorizing and approving funding for 2010-11 capital improvement projects.
Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, as you well know, the City Council annually approves a capital improvement program and CIP budget with the city's operating budget each year, or at least within a very short period after the operating budget has been approved. This year, the response and recovery efforts related to the Glenview fire disrupted the regular schedule for City Council review and approval of the current year's 5-year capital improvement program and the 2010-11 capital budget. In light of the fact that we are now well into the second half of the fiscal year, staff recommends utilizing a different capital budget process to allow for capital improvement projects to proceed through June of 2011. First, Staff will immediately begin developing the 2011-12 capital improvement program to allow for the 5-year capital program and budget to be approved in the normal June time period. Secondly, in lieu of a complete capital improvement program, the City Council is being presented this evening a resolution related to 2 groups of capital projects. One group needs appropriations to allow the 2010-11 work program for existing previously approved projects to proceed through June 30th, 2011. A majority of these projects were approved in 2009-10, and in accordance with the approved program, require additional appropriations this year for work to proceed. The other group, consisting of a total of 8 projects, are new in 2010-11, and these projects all require appropriations for work to commence and begin moving towards completion. In recent years, the complete capital improvement program has included up to 100 current year and future year projects. The modified approval process reduces the need for the City Council to review and take action to a significantly smaller number of projects, a total of 8 new projects and an additional 21 existing projects. I'd like to just take a minute and review the highlights of a couple of the projects with the council, and then with Jim Shannon from Public Services and the department heads would be glad to answer questions or discuss any of the projects with the council. The first new project, and these 4 are 4 of the 8 new projects, is development of a climate action plan. The climate action plan provides for developing a strategic and tactical plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from city operations and within the community, and is required by our city's general fund. The second project is the Cycle 1 Federal Aid Street Rehabilitation Project, which the council has previously taken action on, but this again is appropriating these funds. This project will be going out to bid later this year for overlay work on Crestmore, and depending on the bid amount, could include work on Oakmont also. The third project I wanted to mention is Well 15, the Commodore Park well replacement. This project is being proposed that would allow for acceleration of replacement of this particular well. The funding for this year is $200,000 from the Water Enterprise Fund, and again, after 25 years of service, it's been determined that acceleration of this project is warranted, and that is being recommended at this time. The last of the 4 projects that I wanted to mention was the Glenview Neighborhood Reconstruction Project, which would begin the design and planning for infrastructure improvements and replacement in the Glenview fire area. This would include the neighborhood streets, sidewalks, street lights, water lines, sewer lines, storm drain lines, as well as the replacement and reconstruction of the neighborhood park. Preliminarily, this is viewed as over a $3 million project. The appropriation requested tonight is for $200,000 that would begin the design and engineering work on this project so that it can proceed as quickly as possible. Again, just wanted, so those, the highlights of the new projects. I mentioned there were 21 projects where additional appropriation is requested. Wanted to just mention, for instance, and Will Anderson mentioned it briefly, the phase 1 of the El Camino median project, which included the completion of 5 medians. There's an additional $25,000 requested merely to close out that project. It's at the end, and we need $25,000 more to complete that project. And then the item that you took action on tonight, the street median and Grand Boulevard improvement program, actually appropriating the money that was described earlier is on the list. For the library facility maintenance program, there is the introduction, as all PLS libraries are doing, the radio frequency ID, the tagging system that would allow for greater security and monitoring of the checkout items within the library. There's the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act paving project, which is the significant street paving project for this year. There's additional appropriation for the Caltrain grade separation project that was mentioned to the council when they last appropriated money last year, that would be really a several-year project that would require appropriation, and that is included. There's traffic calming, both the Fleetwood Drive and the neighborhood traffic calming projects. And then the last highlight I just wanted to mention was the commercial data and voice services, which is expansion of the cable's commercial data and voice program. The council took action several meetings ago to have that work done over in the Bay Hill and the Bay Hill Office Center, and this is actually again appropriating the funds for that project that the council has approved. So the total appropriations before the council in the resolution come to a little over $4.3 million. 1.3 of that is for new projects. The existing projects are requiring a little less than $3 million in order to reach that total of $4.3 million indicated in the resolution. And with that, I would be glad, and again, others would be glad to answer any questions or discuss any of the projects with the council.
Good. Any questions?
Through the
Ken?
chair. This Commodore well replacement, whether the subcommittee can answer the question or not, but I mean, how realistic is it to rate, to set aside $2.7 million, by 2015? Are we, especially when you're saying that you want to start construction in next year, 2012, is that money going to be available through our ratepayers? Or is this an ambitious savings program, to put $200,000 away this year and then hope to have some money in the next 4 years?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Jim Shannon. I'm a management analyst with the Public Services Department. For the well replacement, that replacement was always budgeted into our rate study that was completed a couple of years back. I think we're in the second year now of the 3-year rate adjustment. Even with that accelerated time frame, given sort of the balancing acts of the other projects, the acceleration of this project is still well within the limits of that rate model. So we certainly expect to have the revenues available at the time that is described in the project before you.
Okay, so I mean, it's just that it's laid out at 2011 to 2015, 2.7 million, and it sounds ambitious, but I mean, if I were to see 2011, 2012, how much you'd put away, from rates or whatever, then I guess, it would look more realistic.
Right.
More
I mean, I think it's
promising.
just sort of squinched in. I don't know
Yeah.
the exact breakdown, but I mean, it is certainly phased in.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Rico?
Going on to some of the new projects, the well was already asked, and so I appreciate that. On the BART closeout, the 75,000, I understand the reason, and I'm just to get off the topic on it a little bit. There's the Bay Shore Circle area that my understanding is BART owns, and we've maintained, and I brought this up before, and that's when Scott Bushman came about the condition of it, and it was addressed and it was cleaned up. And what I have not really received an answer is, I believe it's still being maintained as we speak. However, obviously, there's reductions in staff and services, and I'm wanting to make sure that we are somehow being made whole for our time that is being spent on their property. That's something that I've asked. I haven't really had an assurance of that. I think we want to continue to be maintained, but not on our dime. It's not our property. That was just one question. I don't know. Okay. On the renewable energy, I'm just wondering how we gauge it as far as, when they did City Hall and all the facilities were done. How are we really gauging the savings? If our bill was $100 this month, is it $80 after it's done? I mean, that's something that I've always asked about City Hall. How are we going to gauge what the savings and the investment and the time? And I understand we need to come up with conservations and other aspects, but I'm wondering, how are we really gauging a good outcome for our investment?
May I just ask, were you referring specifically to the energy efficiency
Yes.
retrofit program or the renewable energy?
Hey, energy's energy. Throw it together.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we don't have final figures yet, but there is a rebate a program available to cities in San Mateo County. It's called San Mateo County Energy Watch, and they perform audits of government facilities, government buildings. And so, I mean, literally the report is not out yet, but the early indications, they've gone through and done a preliminary analysis of where the city could sort of save some money for energy efficiency. And quite frankly, there's not a lot more that we could do. So which I take it as a success of the previous renovations that were done on City Hall and those city facilities, that those investments for efficiency, those projections by, I think Siemens was the vendor that did those energy savings calculations, proved accurate. So that's one way to measure the success, is to see what more could we do now. Not a whole lot, it turns out, from what we've already done. And in terms of maybe some of these other programs, for example, with the energy retrofit program, there are specific audits that are out there. Methodology has come a long way just the past few years to give a rating on a residential building, a home, for example, to see, which gives a sort of numerical calculation of what the energy efficiency of that home is. And the science is getting pretty good at calculating for X improvements, you get Y results. So we're starting to see some real efficient ways to measure effectiveness of some of these energy efficiency programs.
Next one was the direct sales project, cable TV. This is a direct sales project, which is, I'm assuming is for when we've been going to the new campaign, door to door. And what I'd like to know is, how is that going? Where are we measured that as far as good, bad? How many months have we had it? How many have we acquired? Have we achieved our goal? Are we on our way? Are we behind what we had hoped?
The direct sales campaign, my name is Tenzin Gelson. I'm the cable television director. The direct sales campaign began in July of last year, and so far the campaign has generated about 2,000 additional sales. The sales that have been generated mostly have been upgrades, people subscribing to additional HBOs, additional showtimes, premium services, people that are upgrading with phone service or internet services. We were hoping to generate additional core basic cable customers, core internet customers. That's what we're hoping for, because we've seen a lot of customers switch over to other providers that have come in San Bruno, such as AT&T and DirecTV. They've all been strong competitors. So we're trying to generate some of these customers to come back to San Bruno Cable, and we're trying to do that through the door-to-door sales campaign. It has been effective. We've generated 2,000 upgrades, but as I said, we did not generate the core basic cable customers we're hoping to get back. So despite the fact that we've been continuing the campaign since July of last year, we did not have to spend a whole lot of capital funds to acquire these set-top boxes or EMTAs or cable modems. Because of that, we were able to use inventory on hand. The other thing was our offer wasn't as strong as well to compete in the market. We offered free installation, free 1-month service, and free activation. The campaigns, the other competitors are running are 5 months free, very competitive rates, so it's been hard to compete. So we're in the process of going back to the Cable Television Subcommittee with a new offer that we can restart the door-to-door sales campaign. And if that campaign, we were to begin that campaign, then we might need additional equipment. And this project that we have here is really to augment any additional equipment needs that we would generate from the sales campaign.
Okay, so if I heard you correctly, since July, we've increased by $2,000 in sales.
No, we've increased 2,000 additional net revenue generating units. So for example, if you had a cable customer that had digital cable and now they've added HBO to their account or Showtime to their account, so that would generate incremental revenue for us. So we count that as a revenue generating unit. So far we generate over 2,000 revenue generating units through the campaign starting July.
And how many new customers?
The
I know
new
that
cu-
was not what you had hoped thus far, but
Exactly.
what does this tell us as far as brand new subscribers or folks that have come back? How many is that?
We've had losses. There's no net gains so far this year. We're down about close to 500 customers, basic cable customers, through 8 months into the year.
So with the campaign, we have not gained a new subscriber, is that what you're saying?
We have not gained no net new gain subscribers. We always see a tremendous amount of churn. There's been a huge activity where we constantly get customers in, and then customers are also leaving. So there's a huge amount of churn. So there's not been any net new gains through the last 8 months.
Okay, so the money then we're setting aside is for potentially newer upgrades of potential new subscribers, which we haven't thus far been that lucky to get.
That's correct. So basically, in the event that the sales campaign is effective and we need additional equipment, then we would come to City Council with a staff report to acquire the additional equipment. Otherwise, we'll use existing inventory on hand to turn out the new customers.
All right, let me think about that, but thank you. To move on, some of the existing really quick, and then I'll stop. The sidewalk repair program, I believe that's to continue, and I know I'm on the subcommittee. We were trying to take care of those that were 3/4 of an inch elevated. And I just wanted to make a note of 165 and 175 DeSoto. Looking at those, I think that there's quite an elevation, and that's a major thoroughway that's traveled in and out of the park, and that's just an FYI. On the phone system replacement project, obviously I know the phone system in our city is over 10 years old, because I know I still worked here when we updated the last system. Is that something that is absolutely necessary at this time? Is that something that can be postponed? Is that something that we need to do because of what we're trying to do as far as the business is concerned with cable?
Sorry, I missed part of the question. I think it was part of the phone system replacement. The phone system replacement, the city had budgeted $185,000 to be spent over 2 years to replace the legacy Mitel phone system that we had. So when cable television launched its commercial services and bought equipment for the commercial services project, at that point in time, we bought the Cisco Call Manager system that does IPPBX system services. So at that point in time, the city converted from the Mitel telephone system to the IPPBX system, the Cisco Call Managers. At that point in time, the plan was that the city would pay back cable for the portion of the cost of the equipment. So currently, the Cisco PBX has a seat of about 2,000 users that it can support on the Cisco Call Managers. The city uses about 250 of those seats on that call manager. So the city is essentially paying a proportionate share of the number of seats on that call manager. The rest, San Bruno Cable will be selling to business customers such as Prudential or whoever else that might be out there that are our customers. That make sense? So this is really
So this is the second year of the
Yeah.
city's commitment for the purchase of the upgraded phone system. So we're not going out and buying anything
Okay,
new.
thank
This
you.
is an
Yeah.
obligation that the city council established
That's
where
what I
the
wanted
city
to
was going to
clarify.
pay over 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Any questions? Action?
I'll introduce the resolution authorizing and appropriating funding for the 2010-11 capital improvement projects.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Salazar.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. Item 10F, adopt resolutions approving reimbursement agreements. We have 4 here. The first is a resolution of the City Council of the City of San Bruno approving and authorizing execution of a public improvements reimbursement agreement between the city and the redevelopment agency. Is it easier to go through take an action on each one, or as we go?
Well, ultimately, I think an action on each one, Mayor, but I would read them all now because we do have the issue of
Exactly, right.
of you-know-what.
You know what. Item F2, resolution of the San Bruno Redevelopment Agency approving and authorizing execution of a public improvements reimbursement agreement between the redevelopment agency and the city. Item F3, resolution of the City Council of the City of San Bruno approving and authorizing execution of an affordable housing reimbursement agreement between the city and the redevelopment agency. And item F4, resolution of the San Bruno Redevelopment Agency approving and authorizing execution of an affordable housing reimbursement agreement between the redevelopment agency and the city. We have had this these redevelopment items up before us before, and based on rulings from our previous city attorney and our current city attorney, we have the recusal of two members, Mr. Medina and Vice Mayor Salazar.
So, do you want to say anything, or do you want me to just go ahead?
For a second. So last year, as Mayor Wayne indicated, your city attorney advised that a couple of members had a conflict in voting on some of these RDA decisions that related to policy issues, establishing funding or RDA projects. And so straws were drawn. Council member O'Connell was selected to participate. So recognizing that these are important issues that members would like to participate in if they possibly can, I did take a fresh look at the FPPC decisions and concluded, after reviewing them, that the FPPC would probably still find that there's a potential conflict for the agency members Salazar and Medina. So if they agree at this time they should announce their recusal, indicate the reasons for that recusal, leave the room, and then return at the conclusion of the item.
Like we go first.
Okay. I've been advised that my primary residence is within a certain distance of the redevelopment area, so then I will recuse myself.
And I also are on the same lines with the Vice Mayor, and so I will recuse myself due to my residency within what we're
Very
going to
good.
discuss and vote on, so I will excuse myself. Glasses? I don't need my glasses. I'm talking to Michael.
Lucky you.
Yeah. That's all right.
Okay, we do have 4 items. I believe the city manager at our last meeting explained them fairly thoroughly, but if you want to go over them briefly again.
Just very briefly and a little broader view of the redevelopment issue that we spoke about earlier today and the proposed state budget. Just as the council knows, the proposed state budget prohibits, this is the proposed budget, prohibits existing redevelopment agencies from creating new contracts or obligations effective upon what is hoped by the Department of Finance urgency legislation by the legislature to effectively end redevelopment. By July 2011, existing agencies would be disestablished and successor local agencies would be required to use property tax that RDAs would otherwise have received to retire RDA debts and contractual obligations in accordance with existing payment schedules. The state would then require that existing pass-through monies that we traditionally and every year pay to other taxing agencies be paid, and statewide, the state would take $1.9 billion of redevelopment agency money for their own purposes, specifically for Medicare and trial court costs. So the important issue is that the agencies are barred from creating new contracts, and tax increment money could still be used to pay to retire RDA debts or contractual obligations. The San Bruno Redevelopment Agency has in place a total of 4 agreements obligating tax increment money. Those 4 agreements are the cooperative agreement between the agency and the city for the advance of the $3 million over the early years of the redevelopment agency for repayment of those funds. The second is a pledge of redevelopment agency to pay the lease, the lease payments under the lease for the police facility. And the other two agreements are owner participation agreements at the crossing with Archstone 1 and Archstone 2 apartments for the affordable housing subsidy. The State Department of Finance and the Legislative Analyst's Office have made it clear that this action is proposed as a direct result of the passage of Proposition 22. Just last November, 62% of state voters attempted to stop state raids on redevelopment funds. The Department of Finance is responding by taking nearly all redevelopment agency funds and closing down redevelopment operations. However, under the existing Department of Finance proposal, redevelopment agency funds for debt, existing debt and contractual obligations would continue to be available. The action before the City Council and the agency board tonight is to adopt two proposed reimbursement agreements to contractually bind the agency to fund and support specific critical public improvements and housing projects. One reimbursement agreement, again, for capital improvement projects contains under Attachment 1 a list of projects from either the general plan, from the implementation plan, or the redevelopment plan for various projects totaling $85 million. The second agreement, the Affordable Housing Reimbursement Agreement, provides for an additional $32 million for various affordable housing projects envisioned by the agency over a long period of time and coming close to the ability to actually undertake. As I mentioned earlier, I do want to point out that it's the Department of Finance, the State Department of Finance's position that a contract between a redevelopment agency and a city will not suffice as adequate protection for these funds. The agreements here have been crafted as well as we can in order to counter the Department of Finance proposal, but again, want to forewarn the council and the California California Redevelopment Association is talking lawsuit and whatnot. I mean, the likelihood is these matters are very complex. I mean, matters of violation of Proposition 22, violation of the state constitution, violation of contract law are all potential issues that the state is sidestepping in going forward immediately with this action. So we're not guaranteeing anything on the city's part, but again, as I indicated, to my knowledge, every redevelopment agency and city are taking these actions as the best course to protect what the voters only a few months ago said don't do, and the state is totally ignoring that and moving forward with their proposal to take these funds. Just want to add further that based on the council discussion at the February 9th meeting, there are two additional projects that we would like to add to the public improvement list, and that is for the construction of the library and for construction replacement of Fire Station 51. However, they're not on the list tonight because for public buildings under the Health and Safety Code and for redevelopment, there is a whole separate process for public hearing and notification and consideration by the city and the agency board. We have begun that process, and what we intend to do is to come back to the council and the agency at your next meeting when we can have met the noticing requirements for this public hearing, and we will propose to amend your action tonight to include those two additional projects. So that's that's the process we need to follow. We'd certainly like to address it all tonight, but legally we cannot. So that's how we're addressing that. And again, that action will be on the March 8th agenda. With that, that completes my report. And again, any discussion about the specific projects, either on the public improvements or the housing, we'd be glad to answer any questions or be part of any discussion the council or agency have.
Ken?
Just briefly, I can appreciate you being very clear and deliberate in what you've been stating, and don't take this the wrong way, but is there a network throughout the state where we're comparing notes and going over what sort of procedures and sort of strategies that each city is doing with their redevelopment agencies and these types of agreements?
I would say the League of California Cities and the California Redevelopment Association are all over this. I mean, that is, I mean, it's certainly networking. I mean, every day there's communications among all the members of these agencies and clarifying what actions others are taking. I mean, just in preparation of our own work, we've reviewed the work that many other cities and agencies have done, and to see how it's worded, to see the size of the projects, the scope of projects that they're approving. So I would say this is an item that there's a lot out there, and we're dialed into it as much as we can.
Okay.
And if I may, just through the chair, specifically, our RDA attorney represents a great many other cities on the peninsula and throughout the state who have identical concerns as the city of San Bruno does. And not only that, but his firm also represented, as I recall, the association as well. And so they are very aware of all the latest techniques to use so that we can have the best possible chance of a positive outcome on this.
Yeah, I didn't have any doubt. It's just that I needed to be reassured.
I mean, again, you know I'm a pessimist by nature, but again, so that the council and the agency are aware that both the Assembly and the Senate budget committees have reviewed the governor's proposal and are both recommending to the whole legislature, Senate and Assembly, approval of the governor's budget. Now, part of the budget includes, well, the budget itself requires a 2/3. Putting the tax measures the governor is interested requires a 2/3 vote, and the minority Republicans have an opportunity to block that. But at this point, the Senate and the Assembly budget committees are on board. The Senate voted their proposal, and again, this is without any language. There is no language prepared yet to indicate how they would get rid of redevelopment agencies. So these two committees are voting on a blank piece of paper.
Just numbers.
There's no numbers, there's no words, there's no nothing of what they're voting on except the governor's proposed budget. But the enacting legislation doesn't exist in draft form, so they haven't reviewed anything. The Assembly committee voted to approve the governor's budget. The Assembly added a few words in their approval that left open the possibility of reforming redevelopment rather than eliminating it, would at least open the door for something other than total elimination. But that's where the legislature is at this point. And I think March 15th is the deadline that the governor needs an approved budget in order for the time sequence to get the ballot measures that they're interested in on the June ballot. So this is going to come forward very quickly over the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
I just want to say I appreciate all the work you're doing. It's not easy, and it's very, very quick, and I know you're doing a very thorough job, so I really appreciate what you're doing. I hope the people of San Bruno realize and recognize what redevelopment has done for us. The crossing would not exist all the senior low-income housing would not exist if we hadn't had redevelopment at the time. Some of our street pavings and our sidewalk repairs, some of our sewer, the whole downtown. I know it's not glamorous, but the storm drains that were replaced downtown, some of our, well, all of our facade improvements downtown. I know there's more. Some of the housing the low-income housing that had been rehabilitated in the avenues, all those things and more are because of redevelopment. And you know, the schools still get a share, the cities still get a share, the county still gets a share. It's not like we took everything, and I think we're doing a fantastic job of generating tax money and generating jobs with redevelopment. So if you are in a mind to, you can call your senator or email or your assemblyman and to let them know what San Bruno is doing.
Thank you. I agree. Done an awful lot with our redevelopment agency, and still is now just starting to really kick in, and just gives us another example of how short-sighted this state government has been the last number of years. I guess the only positive thing for attorneys is that there's going to be a lot of money made on both sides, I think so. Okay, we have 4 resolutions. F1, resolution of the City Council of the City of San Bruno approving and authorizing execution of a public improvements reimbursement agreement between the city and the redevelopment agency. Action.
I'll introduce.
Second? Oh, no, sorry. Never mind. Got ahead of myself.
Council Agency Member Ibarra.
Aye.
Council Agency Member O'Connell.
Aye.
Mayor Chair Ruane.
Aye. Item F2, resolution of the San Bruno Redevelopment Agency approving and authorizing execution of a public improvements reimbursement agreement between the redevelopment agency and the city. Action.
Introduce for adoption.
Council Agency Member Ibarra.
Aye.
Council Agency Member O'Connell.
Aye.
Mayor Chair Ruane.
Aye. Item F3, resolution of the City Council of the City of San Bruno approving and authorizing execution of an affordable housing reimbursement agreement between the city and the redevelopment agency.
Introduce for adoption.
Council Agency Member Ibarra.
Aye.
Council Agency Member O'Connell.
Aye.
Mayor Chair Ruane.
Aye. And item F4, resolution of the San Bruno Redevelopment Agency approving and authorizing the execution of an affordable housing reimbursement agreement between the redevelopment agency and the city.
I'll introduce for adoption.
Council Agency Member Ibarra.
Aye.
Council Agency Member O'Connell.
Aye.
Mayor Chair Ruane.
Aye. We'll welcome back our 2 council members. Item number 11, report of commissions, boards, and committees. There are no reports this evening. Comments from council members?
Through the chair. Very quickly, I wanted just to thank staff and volunteers that last Thursday we had the honor and the privilege of hosting the San Francisco World Championship trophy over at the Veterans Memorial Center. And it was quite an experience, great turnout, great enthusiasm by the community. Council was there, other staff and elected officials, as well as I want to also give an appreciation and thanks to all of those that helped. We had a lot of volunteers that helped to minimize the workload to the staff. And also, we have an intern, Elizabeth, who is with us. And I must say she had one of the harder jobs that day. And of course, she's almost volunteering as well in some respects. But I also wanted to acknowledge her and thank her for trying to keep the line flowing and keep everything in order. It was a great job and very much appreciated by everybody.
Thank you. And a very special thank you to the Giants for all of their help and assistance they provided during this Glenview fire incident. They've really been supportive. Great community organization. We do have a closed session this evening. 2, confer with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation. 1 case, California Government Code Section 54954.9A. And item B, the city manager and human resources director request a closed session pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957.6 regarding direction for labor negotiations with the police and public safety mid-management unit bargaining units. And there won't be any reportable action to come after this, so this meeting will be adjourned to our next city council meeting on March 8th right here at the Senior Center.